Harlan had been retired for 11 months before anyone told him. I know because I was there when they tried. Transit Authority sent a handler from the new cohort, young woman named Daisha, with a clipboard and a form that said, Auxiliary Animal, Decommission/reassignment. She found us in the mess hall at 0640. Harlan was under my chair eating a piece of scrambled egg I'd dropped on purpose. She looked at him. She looked at her form. She looked at me. He's been flagged, she said. Careful about it. That's fine, I said. She waited. I kept eating. Harlan had been on the ramp since he was 18 months old. 7 years of transit work, contraband sweeps, personnel checks, threat flag assessments across 4 operating corridors. He'd never once needed to be told twice. He'd also never once needed to be told he was finished, because nobody had gotten around to it, and Harlan did not read internal memos. I'd filed my own retirement the same week. They'd accepted mine. Harlan's paperwork had gotten lost somewhere between transit security and the Interplanetary Coordination Office, and nobody had followed up. So as far as the system was concerned, Harlan was still active, still on the manifest, still drawing a feed allocation under Working Animals, K9, transit grade. I was drawing a pension. He was drawing kibble. It seemed fair. What Daisha wanted to know, and was too careful to ask directly, was why I was still coming in. My badge said retired. The mess hall had new people in it every week. I didn't have a desk, didn't have a shift, didn't have a duty log to sign. I had a chair near the wall and a habit of being there at 0640, and Harlan had a spot under the chair, and between the two of us we had somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 combined years of being in that mess hall at that hour, and it turned out that was harder to stop than anyone had planned for. The Veth Consul arrived at 0900. His name was Eric Sorvale, and he had 3 aides and a security designation I was not cleared to read, and he walked into the transit mess like he was walking into something that had disappointed him before he got there. His aides fanned out. He stood in the center of the room and looked at the walls, the ceiling, the consoles, the duty roster on the wall screen. He looked at Harlan. Harlan was sleeping under my chair. He'd moved from under my chair to beside it, sometime around my second coffee, and now his chin was on his front paws and his eyes were half closed, and his gray muzzle was pointed at the middle distance, in a way that suggested he had assessed the middle distance and found it unremarkable. This animal, Arak Sorviel said, to no one in particular. His name's Harlan, I said. It is assigned to this assessment area. He's assigned where I'm assigned. The consul looked at me the way officials look at things they haven't categorized yet. I was wearing a Transit Authority jacket that was 4 years out of date. My badge said retired. My coffee was decaf because my cardiologist had opinions. I did not look like a threat assessment. That was fine. I hadn't been a threat assessment in 11 months. I was told this facility maintains active working animals, Arak Sorvale said. It does. This animal, he gestured at Harlan. This is what maintains it? He does, yeah. One of the aides said something in Veth that I didn't catch. 2 of the others exchanged a look. The consul's expression did not change, but something in his posture shifted, the way posture shifts when a decision has been pre-made. The facility's threat readiness profile, he said, is dependent on this. Among other things. It is 11 years old. Its muzzle is gray. It is sleeping. He sleeps light, I said. You'd be surprised. I was not trying to warn him. That's important. I want to be clear about that. I had not been in the threat assessment business for 11 months, and I was not auditioning to get back in. I was telling him a fact about the dog, the way you tell someone the floor is uneven before they cross it in the dark. Whether they hear you is their business. Arak Sorvale turned to his primary aide and began speaking rapidly in Veth about facility adequacy and protocol gaps and the condition of Earth's auxiliary animal corps as observed in this particular installation. The aide took notes. The 2 other aides began walking a slow perimeter of the mess hall, examining the walls. Harlan's ear twitched, both ears. He lifted his head. He didn't stand up. He just lifted his head and looked at the room with the particular steadiness that working Malinois have when they've come out of a sleep and are running a quiet inventory of everything in it. His eyes went to the aides on the perimeter. His eyes went to the primary aide. His eyes went to Arak Sorvale. He held there. His tail wasn't moving. His breathing was easy. His body hadn't changed posture in any way I could have pointed to. He just looked at the consul with a kind of patient, factual attention. I drank my coffee. Sorviel stopped talking. It wasn't dramatic. That's what I want people to understand about Harlan. He did not growl. He did not stand. He did not bear anything, bristle at anything, move toward anything. He sat in the posture he had already been in, and he looked at the consul, and the consul went quiet. One of the aides on the perimeter had stopped moving. The other one had taken 3 steps back toward the door without appearing to decide to. The primary aide was still holding his stylus, but he had stopped writing. Sorviel said, "In standard, how long has this animal been in service?" "Transit K9, working grade," I said. 7 years active, 11 months on transitional status. Transitional. His paperwork still processing. The consul looked at Harlan for a long moment. Harlan looked back with the same expression he used on everyone, which was no particular expression at all. He was not performing anything. He was just there, awake, present, running whatever quiet accounting he ran, when he looked at a room and found it needed looking at. The consul said something to his aide, quietly, in Veth. The aide wrote it down. I don't know exactly what he said. The transit interpreter logged it later as, "The Earth handler's animal is not impaired. Correct the preliminary report." But interpreters summarize. What I know is that afterward, the 3 aides moved back toward the center of the room without being asked, and the perimeter walk ended, and Sorviel asked me several questions about the facility's operational protocols in a register that had become considerably more courteous. The assessment took another 2 hours. Harlan slept through most of it. At the end, the consul filed a recommendation that the Joint Transit Corridor Agreement proceed without the additional Earth security review he'd arrived planning to request. I found that out the following week. At the time, all I saw was the delegation walk out of the mess hall at approximately 11:45, the primary aide still writing, the 2 others staying close to the consul's back in a way that might have been professional habit and might have been something else. The door closed. Harlan put his chin back on his paws. I finished my coffee. There's a thing that happens with working dogs when they get old. People see the gray muzzle, the slow mornings, the stiff way they stand up from a lie-down, and they read it as diminishment. They're reading the body, and they're missing everything the body is doing. 11 years of transit work doesn't leave. It doesn't file out when the paperwork does. It sits in the dog, in the way he reads a room, in the quiet inventory he runs when he opens his eyes and finds something new in it. Harlan's eyes were the same eyes he'd had at 18 months. Same color, same steadiness, same speed. He just rested more between uses. I understand that. I rest more between uses too. Daisha came back the following Tuesday with a new form. This one said, auxiliary animal, status continuation, administrative hold. The transit authority had apparently decided that finalizing Harlan's decommissioned paperwork would require a security review, and that the security review would need to be scheduled, and that scheduling would take some months given current operational load. She left the form with me for signature. I set it on the table. Harlan sniffed it. He went back to his spot under the chair. I signed it. Outside, a transport was cycling through its docking sequence, the low hydraulic groan of a ramp extending, the clunk of connector locks finding their seats. Familiar sounds. We'd met a lot of mornings in rooms like this, Harlan and I, more than I'd counted. I didn't count anymore. He was asleep before the ramp finished extending. I let him.